Welcome! The Daily Exchange, guys. We're here back. Consensus 2019, day 2. Welcome, Lars from Concordium to the Daily Exchange.
Thank you.
How you been, man? So, Lars, you're the chairman behind Concordium. Tell us about what is Concordium?
Concordium is an attempt to build a layer 1 protocol that's really thinking business from day one. A lot of the space has sort of developed out of various contexts historically, and there's good reasons for that, I believe. But coming from the finance industry and having done a lot of work on early internet trading platforms and working with retail customers and derivatives and foreign exchange, etc., I think there's some parallels, and I think a protocol built right from the start with a view of facilitating mainstream adoption has been a little bit lacking out there, and that's, I guess, is why we don't have a mainstream adoption. Certainly not in the public blockchain space. Clearly, a lot of stuff going on in private blockchains, but I think, looking back at my experiences from the internet, I think the really exciting bit is if we can get true mainstream adoption of the true public distributed blockchain, right? So that's what we're trying to make the foundation for, and some of the key things there are right level and right balance between privacy, identity, transparency, etc., and of course a lot of technical issues that need to improve.
So I guess you're going from intranet to like internet. That's like the parallel when we all used to build intranets, and then we sort of went pure cloud and internet. And so what's the main problem you see right now with, I guess, public blockchains, and how are you trying to solve that?
It's a very good parallel that I often use myself, because we look back at the internet in the mid-90s, and we were at Saxo Bank that I founded. We were very early adopters of that. And exactly, everybody was trying to sort of build their own versions of the internet. It sounds bizarre today, but a lot of people were trying to do that without really appreciating the enormous opportunities that be raised by a broad marketplace. So I think it's a parallel situation here. And the things that are going wrong in that right now is, of course, that clearly there's scalability issues, right? If you build a really successful application with a lot of users and serious critical mass, where you're actually going to execute that? Where's the public blockchain that can carry not just one successful application, but multiple successful applications? I don't see it right now, and that's obviously one problem. The other, even bigger problem, in my view, is that early generations were built on the idea of anonymity, on the idea of sort of circumventing the establishment, and I have a lot of sympathy for that. I'm a bit of an anarchist and ultra-libertarian myself, but having also run a bank for 25 years, I've seen what happened to regulation in that space, and I have absolutely no doubt that the same thing is going to happen in this space. And that just means that the idea of anonymity and the idea of sort of having unregulated areas, it's dead in the water, right? I mean, you can have some sympathy for sort of being a little bit free of the governments and the state, but it is dead in the water if you want mainstream adoption by banks, by serious businesses, etc. So that's what you need to deal with. And the most fundamental thing there is you cannot have actors that are entirely anonymous. No serious business is going to interact on a network when theory or in real life it could be a terrorist, it could be a drug dealer at the other end of the line, right? That's a hard problem to deal with, because who's going to issue the identity? And we're working with a system of multiple trusted identity issuers where you can choose your own. You will not display your identity necessarily unless you want to people, but we do know that ultimately, if need be, and under very specific agreed conditions, it's possible to go to the pointer of your account and trace back to who you actually are. And I think, while that won't appeal to a lot of the early adopters of this space, it is just the entry ticket to even be in real business, right? And we need to address it. On top of that, so we're trying to find a solution to that. I believe we have found good solutions to that. On top of that, of course, massive scalability issues that you need to address. So we're working with some very strong science, particularly European-based universities, in the areas of how can we really increase scalability, sharding, state flattening, working up with zero knowledge proofs to also find this correct balance between the completely justified privacy that some people want around some of their transactions, but combining that with the real world's requirements for the ability to identify people. And so it's a whole bunch of things that needs to improve. The number of projects out there trying to address some of them. We're trying to address what we believe are most of all of them, because we are sort of run by business people that have built substantial businesses in the past, and we believe we have a good feel for what it really needs for serious business to begin to adopt this space.
Okay. And what are your sort of views on scalability? Like what kind of numbers are you guys sort of aiming for?
Everybody's throwing around crazy numbers, and I think most people are vastly exaggerating, so I'm not going to throw a number out there now because I simply don't know. I mean, it depends on how efficient we can get the sharding, it depends on how efficient the whole process is, but it's evident that if you don't have very substantial throughput per second, you're not going to be able to be a real piece of infrastructure here, right? And I think that's what we're trying to build. We're trying to build the equivalent of an internet, and I don't think there's going to be just one of those, but build a piece of infrastructure that an SME, for example, say, hey, I could use some of that for improving my services in a given area, ultimately to build entirely new business model, peer-to-peer business models, which are an incredible opportunity because the whole sort of trustless environment prevents so much business today that people don't even begin to appreciate how much could be done if you could establish trust in an easy way. But in the short run, I think it's more going to be more trivial applications, provenance, immutability of data, obviously timestamping, that many businesses could benefit from. And if we take the parallel with the internet, in the mid-90s, it was not the big businesses that were really adopting the internet. It was smaller businesses that saw a benefit, and maybe some specialized businesses like my own trading platform.
So with the internet, obviously it went from obviously to a full public. I guess no one really owned the protocol, was kind of sorted. Where do you think we are in the adoption of the infrastructure and blockchain in particular? Obviously, cryptocurrency is one application of that. But we're building these infrastructure and building these applications. So just I'm interested in where do you think we are in the cycle of infrastructure?
I think we're in 1997, and you probably were not around to observe that in depth at the time.
I was actually. I'd age well.
Okay, better than me, huh? I think we're about 1997, 1998. There's a potential. We probably underestimate that potential, except for people that are at this conference, but the vast majority of people actually don't really care too much about blockchain, to be honest. I think that everybody's looking for the big boys to take the lead here. That's not the way it's going to be. It's going to be SMEs, it's going to be small players that actually take the lead in proving that this can work, that it can be used for something. So I think we're at an incredibly early stage here. I think that there's still no real infrastructure out there that will work for bigger mainstream adoption for the reasons that we discussed. So we're very early here. And if you look at like everybody, the serious guys, Gartner, and when you look at their charts where you hit like a 3 trillion contribution to 2030, but when you look at the charts, you can't even see 18, you can't see 19, and I believe that's true. You're right that there's an application called cryptocurrencies, which many of us have had a lot of fun with, and it's a nice speculative object. But it's not what this is about. Right? It's about doing real business, and cryptocurrencies and tokens and coins are really just a accessoric thing to facilitate that business, and an interesting one of that. But it's not the purpose, right? The purpose is doing real business, and I think that I have two hats on here. I'm trying to run this project, but I'm also an investor in various areas, not just blockchain. I was lucky to sell my bank and make a bit of money some while back. So I'm probably putting like 10-15% of my investments into the blockchain space because I believe in it a lot. But when I look at it as an investor, I'm just forgetting Concordium for now. I look at, there's two things. There's the protocol layer that you can invest in, and there's the application layer. This was exactly the same in the mid-90s for for the internet, except you couldn't really invest in the protocol because there wasn't a way to really get into the protocol itself.
Yes. A TCP/IP, you couldn't get into it.
Exactly, you couldn't own a share of the internet.
No.
Right? Imagine if you owned a share in the internet. That business would be worth more than the entire U.S. stock market put together, right?
Yeah.
Here, actually, you have a chance to own a piece of the infrastructure, and that, to me, given that there's relatively few serious projects, I'm not going to none mentioned, none forgotten, but there's not an awful lot of projects out there trying to build that fundamental infrastructure based on good science.
Yep.
Whereas you have thousands of applications, just like you had in the late 90s, and sadly to say, most of them are going to fail because one, they won't have the user base, and second, if they do, they don't have the infrastructure. So how can you win on that basis, right?
Makes sense.
So as an investor, I'm trying to look to put my money into the 5-10 serious plays that I see on the protocol level, and maybe they'll be new, and maybe there's some we missed, but I think it's far better chance of getting return on your money on actually picking the right protocols and get into those in the early stage than necessarily try to pick a winner among a lot of applications. Many of them are relatively immature, and if you look at the internet again as a parallel, the first wave ended in the 2001 bust. The real winners in that space, with Amazon as a notable exception, really came in the second wave. Right? I mean, they came in sort of early zeros, not in the late 90s, right? And I think it's going to be very similar. And I think everybody should try to dig a little bit into that history and understand what drove the internet, understand what was worth investing in at the time. And I think it's good learnings. It won't be an exact parallel, that's clear, but there's good learnings to be had from that.
Brilliant. Last question. We've got a bit of punchiness on our time today, but we asked everyone, New Year's Eve 2019, what do you think the price of Bitcoin will be in I guess, in US dollars? This is not financial advice. We ask everyone on the show. We've just seen it cross $8,000. I know it's obviously not part of your full investment thesis, and I understand that, but it is, it's a pretty interesting thing that gets people involved and it gets people into the market.
And it's very good for the atmosphere and the whole space. I'm sure the mood is much better at this conference than it would have been 4 or 5 weeks ago. Right?
Yes.
And I made a lot of money in early stage investments on Bitcoin. I went in when it was in the low hundreds first time, and that did me very well. It's a very difficult question you're asking because end of 2019, I think it's really hard to say. If you had asked me end of 2023, I would be really negative. I don't think it's going to go to the hundreds and thousands and millions and billions, and I think it's going to go the other way, sadly, because it's going to get replaced by things that work better. And that early mover advantage, which I've seen in first mover advantage, which I've seen in multiple speculative plays over the years as a retail investment bank, that tends to go away. So I would say in end of 22, 23, you're going to see a Bitcoin that's relatively irrelevant. But in 19, where does the speculative hype go? I mean, if I should venture a guess, I think it'd be lower than it is now. I think it's going to probably pop and go back down to a couple of thousand, but I feel much more secure about that prediction a few years further on.
Brilliant. Lars, thank you so much for coming in and telling us all about your project as well. Thank you so much. Guys, that's Lars from Concordium. We're going to keep going live today, so Lars, thank you so much, and we'll see you guys. Guys, we're interviewing a few other people today. We're still going to be here. We've got some interesting news coming out. HiveX, which obviously I'm personally involved in as well. We've got a landscape report now. We talked with Lars there about the prices. Now, what's interesting is if you look at the ICO market right now, we've seen obviously 2017 had a $6 billion raise, 7.85 billion in 2018. Now, in this market right now, what we're seeing, and at this event, we're actually seeing quite a few IEOs. Now, is an IEO the same as an ICO? That's an interesting question. We're not sure right now. And what is the sort of regulation around that? There is a lot of similar activity we're noticing between the ICO and the IEO, and it's quite an interesting space. Now, as Lars said, the prices right now are quite, I'd say buoyant. They're moving around a lot. We've just crossed that 8,000 mark of recent, and that's obviously put a lot of buzz in the event right now. We're seeing, which is really cool. Now, if you look last year, so just to give you a bit of background, January 2018 was 13,657. So that was January last year. December 31st, 2018 was 3,742. That's a significant drop, obviously through 2018. It did make consensus last year quite an interesting experience, and there is a different vibe right now coming out. There's a lot of interest, a lot of infrastructure, a lot of mainnets going live, a lot of real applications coming out. So the price coming back up now, which is obviously quite significant as well. As I said, crossing that $8,000 mark. Bitcoin right now, obviously having a massive market share of the market, which is really driving the interest there. Now we've got a lot of, we've got some other interesting stats in terms of top 10 coins and where they've been moving. We've obviously still seen Ripple in there, Ethereum, Cardano, Litecoin, IOTA, NEM, Stellar, Dash. So these are ones that have been around for quite a while. And obviously there's a lot of interesting new launches coming out with those as well. We've actually got, just to give a bit of context, this year from January 1st, 2019 to May 9th, or even today, we've seen January 1st was $3,843. We've gone up about 58 or even 60% in the Bitcoin price. In terms of trading volume as well, we've dramatically increased. In January we were at $4 billion in trading volume in terms of day. We went up to $15.8 billion in a day. In 2000, obviously on May, and this has been 9th, 2019. It's a 265% increase in activity. It's a massive increase in activity right now on the market. Just to giving you guys the context, the number of Bitcoin traded was 1.13 million back in January. Now 2.59 million traded in a day. There's a double in volume. There's a lot of activity, a lot of speculation around Bitcoin right now. A lot of activity in terms of the actual coins. Now, trajectory for 2019 in the HiveX report. Now, what it sort of talks about is there is this time right now. If you look, there is a graph around the halvening coming up in May 2020, and if you look at it, there's an interesting graph around this, and it's in the report where there's kind of this light blue or dark blue zone. And essentially what it does, I don't know if everyone can see that. I'll bring that up. It's a little bit difficult to see here, but we've got the light blue and dark blue zone. We're coming into this same zone right now. Now this might be this theory that a lot of people are looking at right now, that we're coming into this zone, people are potentially accumulating, and then that's when you start to see these bull runs. You start to see this emotional response. Now, obviously the question is, as these halvenings take place, can the fees keep up? Can the fees of Bitcoin keep up? And Lars just then from Concordium was saying he's not so certain about that in 2023, that the actual fees will keep up, which is quite interesting. And I think a lot of people are talking about this. We're going to chat with Jimmy Song later on today as well. Who's got an interesting debate coming up with Joe Lubin. There was a bet made, I think we talked about it in an episode, you can see in a previous episode around that. So he was actually betting Joe Lubin about the number, I think it was the number of apps that run, or I can't exactly remember the actual bet. We'll find out. Now that's going on live very soon, and we'll get Jimmy over to talk about the bet. We talked about it yesterday. You can see that. We've got this video coming out around that. Now he was talking a lot about yesterday about Binance potentially reorganizing Bitcoin. Now, can Binance reorganize Bitcoin? Now he talked a lot about it would cost over potentially, he'd actually, if someone was to actually get it, he was forecasting well and truly over 7,500 Bitcoin, which is a lot of Bitcoin to go and try and do. Now, apparently as well, this has been tried many times before. This reorganization of Bitcoin has been tried in the past. It hasn't actually worked. And it has been quite a challenging thing to try and go and do. There was one reorganization when there was a mistake of about 1.8 billion Bitcoin that was printed, and then that was reorganized back and removed from it. Everyone sort of went, okay, this is not really real. This is going to break the whole thing. Let's go again. And so that was fixed and started again. So we talked a lot about that. And potentially, like now these days, it's way too hard to reorganize the chain. And I guess goes to show the strength of Bitcoin and what it is doing today. I've noticed as walking around in Consensus right now, there is a lot of stands and a lot of activity around a lot of spending, like so actually buying things and the applications around that and making it really easy to actually purchase products and services. And a lot of people focus on that every day, trying to crack that every day. I think there's a lot of activity around this, and I think it's probably going to be one of the next applications we're going to start to see is a lot more wider or attempts to really get people to use cryptocurrency day to day and in their purchases. That's very interesting. There's a lot of talk about security tokens as well. A lot of people trying to understand that there is a lot of actual regulation that's very secure. The actual adoption and liquidity of the markets is very low right now, which is very interesting. There is some sort of need, I think, also in terms of cost prohibitive, because once you go and get all the SEC documents, once you get all the actual regulation, it's probably going to cost similar amounts, or maybe a little bit less, but similar amounts potentially to an IPO. And so the people are sort of weighing that up and saying, hey, we're going to have to do the same thing. It's probably going to cost the same amount of money. I could go with either one. So. Could be something to look at right now. There's a lot of talk about that, and a lot of potential mainstream use cases that are trying to come out around security tokens and around that. So that's been interesting. We've also seen a lot of gaming actually of recent. So there is a lot of games and all sorts of chains sort of pitching that they're going to really go for that. And I think the actual use cases around the gaming is it's been seen. We're talking with Justin's son later on this week, which will be great, and we'll talk about with TRON and the gaming activities they're looking with that. Haven't seen much actual gambling activity here, but we can definitely see on chain and obviously on the dApps. There's a lot of gambling activity, but there's not much actual gambling that's actually promoted at Consensus here. I don't know if that's anything to do with something. I don't know. That might have some objections to actually promoting that. It's been really interesting. I have seen some interesting activity with some very strong personas and strong views around certain coins. So it can get a little hot around here. There's been some very interesting crypto debates, I would say, in that you can see and they're going on. But in all, I would say put the mood at positive. Last year, I think it was a little bit too frenetic and too crazy, and I think obviously prices were a bit scary. But this time I would say, people are positive. People are trying to build things, starting new things, they're getting together. There are new activities happening. People are excited about Bitcoin and what it's doing, and that's really interesting. Now there is some interesting announcements as well coming out around mainnet launches tomorrow. We are talking with another chain. We've got one of the guys actually from Ethereum, which is CasperLabs, and they're talking about their testnet. And when that testnet comes out, we're going to be talking with Vlad tomorrow at 9:30. So do tune in and check that out, which will be really cool. And he's going to be talking about their new release and what's going on there. So do check that out as well. Then we've got a series of, we're actually talking with Zilliqa today as well, and Zcoin. So that'll be really interesting to hear from those guys. In terms of their mainnet launch, particularly with Zilliqa, and what's sort of going on there. So interesting stuff coming out with those guys as well. There has been quite a bit of, I'd say, there's been a bit of celebrations and partying going on at night. A lot of people have been having a lot of value in meeting each other. I'd say last year was a little crazier, although it's still been fun. New York City is a fun place to be. and it's definitely where it's at. A lot of the sort of the regular and same people, I'd say some of them from last year, I would actually put it at more, this is a new crowd, a different kind of crowd, and more sort of OG crowd than last year. Last year was a lot more frenetic, less, more people sort of coming from the fringes, more early. I wouldn't say there are a lot of as much repeat people from last year. I would say there are a lot more new people and OG people. So that's really interesting stuff as well. So we have a guest joining us.
We have Grantley Miles.
Grantley Miles. Grant, welcome. Come and have a seat.
Grantley Miles from Civic Ledger and Boston
Consulting Group.
Cool. Welcome. So tell us about yourself.
Been in tech for 1 million years, well, somewhere close to about 25 years. I had probably 3 careers, one as a management consultant, which is the Boston Consulting Group connection. I've started somewhere close to 10 or 12 companies, kind of lost touch, but kind of serial entrepreneur. And just for good measure, I've actually been an operational CIO in some very large companies.
Brilliant.
So got the field covered.
So you were involved with Civic Ledger. Do you want to tell us a bit about Civic?
Civic Ledger, Australian-based company, founded 2.5, getting on for 3 years ago. The title kind of says it all. So Civic, our focus is platforms to help government provide services to citizens. The sorts of things we do, register and transfer the intellectual property, so patents, trademarks, copyright. We're looking at a product that will help the registration and trading of agricultural water. One of the most highly traded commodities in the world, but it sort of kind of flies under the radar. And we're looking at other things like carbon credits and so forth as the world gets to understand that carbon is a problem and it is causing the planet to change its climate.
And so Civic Ledger is its own blockchain, its own chain, or are you building on something else? Tell us about that.
We're a platform builder. We started building on Ethereum simply for convenience, and we're still building there at the moment. Although as our platforms scale, we're interested in looking at others, and I think Hyperledger is probably the next one we'll consider. Okay. But it will be something a bit, perhaps a bit more scalable than Ethereum.
And why Hyperledger? Why choose that?
Look, I think that the primary characteristics I think are appealing to us. So it's Fabric is a well tried and tested now. So it's in the public domain. It's now got quite significant workloads on it. When we first started 3 years ago, that probably wasn't as true as it is today. And it's quite flexible, fungible, and there's a lot of work happening in the organisation at the moment. The foundation is what I was looking for.
So tell us about what sort of, you obviously have a number of different use cases. What's the one use case right now you guys are really focused on? And yeah, tell us about that.
So the one that's important in Australia at the moment, and there's a bit of context for that. The context in Australia is a very large continent, driest continent in the world, say Antarctica. We have all of the rain falls on the outside of the country, so around the coastal mountains, and then flow inland through what is our most productive agricultural land. The river, it's Murray and the Darling rivers, so the Murray-Darling Basin is responsible for about 70-ish% of our agricultural output. Most of that relies on water. The water is kind of owned, if you will, by 4 states along the journey. And about 10 years ago, our governments opened that agricultural water to trade. Typically, it has been just you owned a piece of property and you had agricultural water rights, and that's it. By separating land ownership from water ownership, we're able now to trade water. So that's it. The importance of water in Australia is that it's a desert, and the trading systems are kind of governed by these 4 states. To quote Mark Twain, whiskey's for drinking, water's for fighting over, and Australia is as good at fighting over water as anyone else. Okay. So that's the backstory. But the reason it's important, our rivers are in crisis at the moment, and what we want to be able to do is to better manage the allocation of water, so that water finds its highest economic and environmental use. And at the moment, that's just very difficult to do with the climate, pardon the pun, politically.
Okay. Now, you said you're very focused on the platform, so you're building on an existing, I guess, public blockchain as well, which is quite interesting. I guess, how are you sort of dealing with that security? And a lot of people are looking at, public blockchains and saying, hey, this is quite potentially high risk. There are some vulnerabilities potentially. I'm interested in, do you think public blockchains are safe to build on?
Absolutely. However, one of the reasons we're thinking about Hyperledger is that we are considering security, if you will, at scale. At the moment, we're not worried about data being lost. At the end of the day, what we're trying to do here is to make all of the water trades transparent. So it's important for us actually to be transparent with these trades. Amongst other things, we want farmers to know what the true price of water is. The current system is rather opaque. Farmers don't know whether they should buy or sell water, and they just can't do their own arithmetic. But we feel safe enough in what we're doing at the moment, but we are thinking about our alternatives.
Okay. Now, in terms of, you said talking about trading with water, is that facilitated through some sort of token, or how does that sort of take place?
So the current paradigm that we're looking at the moment is, the stocking unit of water is 1 million litres. The industry calls it a megalitre. Okay. So what we intend to do, what we are doing is turning a megalitre of water into a token, and digitising that megalitre of water takes a lot of the friction out. There's a lot of rules, business rules associated with that, somewhere around 15,000 when you add them all up. And what we're trying to do here is, with the combination of a smart token and smart contracts, is to have the million litres of water in each unit we sell, or each unit we move around, to be a little bit more aware, so that we can actually demystify a lot of the trading rules, so just make it easier for farmers. Water is great for puns, and what we'd really like is to have water trading to be kind of like Amazon. You push the button, I buy, I sell. At the moment, farmers need brokers. It's that complicated that farmers need brokers to trade. Right. There's no market depth. We don't understand pricing and so on. It should be complex, but it's very, very complicated as well.
Okay. So how does someone get price discovery right now for their megalitres of water?
They phone a broker. Literally, there is no place for them to go find what today's rate for 1 million litres of water is.
Wow.
So, and brokers, they provide a service, albeit service because of an inefficiency in the market, and they have to be paid. So farmers, particularly the marginal farmers, really struggle to find prices, understand whether they need to trade or not, and then they have to pay middlemen to facilitate their trades.
Okay. Now, so with your platform, do you looking to get other developers to build on that as well? Is it open source, or is this a private system?
We're still getting out of the ground at the moment. Again, pardon the pun. We're in experimental proof of concept with some river systems in northern Queensland, and we're working with the National Government of Australia to understand how we might be able to take that proof of concept and expand it out. We've also had interest from the Central Valley in the United States, which is the bit just inland extends from the north of California down almost to LA. And there's an active trading market there, but not well organised. So it's another place we're looking. There's some Asian markets as well, which we think are opportunities for us.
Okay, really interesting. Now, tell us about the Zilliqa ledger itself. Is that like in terms of how did you start this? Is this like was it a raising, or how is it funded basically?
Okay, so there's a bit of a backstory. There are 4 founders. 2 have been working on blockchain for 5 or 6 years now, and they're well known to each other. And we had a random collision in Sydney, Australia, between those guys, which they live in Brisbane, which is the capital city of Queensland. I met with them and a third person we're interested in blockchain, let's start something. That started the conversation, and not long after that we've kind of figured what we wanted to do. We're all involved in public sector commerce one way or another, and then we sort of struck on okay, let's do a GovTech kind of thing. and then we sort of chose our mark. And the first couple of projects we won, it was bootstrapped in the first instance. First couple of projects we won were in those sorts of things I spoke about before, water trading and intellectual property. So that kind of set us on a trajectory. We've been funded by, in fact, one of the co-founders is chairman of a VC, so he found us some money, and we're now hopefully trying to wean ourselves off the need for capital and go back to that bootstrapping approach and just basically fund it with revenue.
Brilliant. And tell us about the revenue model. Like how does Civic Ledger work? And I guess who's the customer and how does that sort of work?
The platform is a basically two-sided market. So the two customers are the two farmers on either side of the market. So the buyer and the seller. And the commercial model is to provide access to a platform, and that's a small fixed fee. But basically, it's kind of like a standard software as a service joining fee. And then there's I think a fairly modest, certainly below credit card type, click the ticket on trades of water. Okay.
And how are you guys? Are you guys going to create an exchange, or like are you like a decentralized exchange or something?
No. In fact, the next thing we're going to do, because at the moment we're still it's the payment rails is incomplete, so we will need to integrate some kind of payment rail, whether it's an exchange. Some farmers might need to pay with fiat currency. At the moment, we're just dealing with tokens, which is sort of complicated enough. But our plan long run is to have efficient payment rails that deal with fiat and cryptocurrencies.
Really interesting. Now, what's coming up? Like, where are you guys sort of at? What's coming up, and what should everyone, how can everyone sort of follow you guys as well?
civicledger.com. What's coming up? We're participating with the World Intellectual Property Organization, so it's the United Nations umbrella group of all of the patent offices in the world, and they're thinking now about blockchain as one of the tools they might use to record patents and facilitate the trade of licensing or facilitate the trade of patents. So we're working with them on that. The IP Australia, which is the Australian Patent Office, is working on a blockchain task force with this world group. We've done a couple of proofs of concept with them, and next step is to basically put it all in a sandbox and turn that into a platform a little bit like I described with water. So there is every reason to hope that we can have blockchain managing world intellectual property.
Wow, incredible stuff. Now tell us about I guess the market right now and sort of the sentiment here at Consensus. How are you finding the show?
I think that I do a lot of public speaking on blockchain as much as anything else to help beat the bushes for Civic Ledger. And I often use the expression that blockchain the last year or so has had its Netscape moment. That is that the Netscape classic, where very difficult to use the internet before Netscape, then it became a consumer product. I think some of the things that Microsoft, Amazon, Consensus have done to democratize blockchain development, I think, are very, very helpful. Amazon's recent announcement that it's sort of joining the market as well. I think IBM has done a lot of work with Hyperledger. All of those things together mean that blockchain is now much more demystified. It's less difficult to code and create stuff in applications in blockchain. So I think we're now at a point where it's kind of on its way. We heard on the first day someone from CoinDesk talking about blockchain's kind of in its scale-up stage now, and I suspect that that's the case. We've got a long way to go, but I think blockchain is now sort of moving from hype into reality, now the possibility of a scale-up.
Really interesting. What do you think about in terms of the market right now? I guess the price of Bitcoin is just crossed $8,000 again, and how do you think that sort of, obviously it's only one use case, right? Yeah. Bitcoin is one use case of blockchain, but it is applicable, it's interesting, it moves, it's a market. What do you think about in terms of, I guess the recent move and I guess people coming back into blockchain? Before it was a bit spicy, Yeah. I guess people potentially lost a lot of money, and maybe everyone thought it was, all over. But during that time, I think, people were trying to build. And so how do you feel the sentiment is right now in terms of the market and what people are thinking of blockchain?
So we're seeing some very serious players do some very serious things in blockchain. So again, I think that inflection point is already on us and probably past. The banks are now doing trade and structured finance with blockchain. So this is pulling together the typical 5 or 6 players in an international supply chain, including stevedores and government regulators. They wouldn't do that for the fun of it. So what they're able to do here is convene 5 players who wouldn't ordinarily collaborate as closely as they do. They have changed the trust model. They're now beginning to change behaviours. Supply chain has always been one of those bellwether use cases for blockchain, and we're now seeing much more of it. So food providers, particularly the integrated guys that do sort of seed to fork sort of stuff, so fully integrated providers. Olam is a Singapore-based company that's doing that. It's thinking very seriously about blockchain now, and others are sort of getting into that supply chain provenance. I work with Boston Consulting Group. They've created 2 platforms in the last little while with clients of theirs. One of them is De Beers on the provenance of diamond, and that has created a platform called Tracer or Tracker. Never know, but tracker.com, TRACR.com.
Okay.
But in essence, a provenance platform can be used for diamonds, which is why it was created, but it can be used for anything else. Boston Consulting Group's also worked with Worldwide Fund for Nature, WWF, on something that is about the sustainability of fisheries.
Yes.
Great application, and they've launched something called OpenSC, Open Supply Chain, and again, creating platforms that others can use. So I think what we're seeing now is the early 1990s equivalent of the internet.
Yeah.
And I'd be just happy when consensus didn't need to happen and we weren't talking about blockchain, we're just doing it.
Very cool.
So that's the promise, I think, of what we're up to.
I guess everyone on the show, we asked one question. It's going to be New Year's Eve 2019 in US dollars. What do you think of the price of Bitcoin will be? This is not financial advice. We don't do financial advice on the show.
And I'm probably the poor person, not the right person to ask.
Not the right person. That's okay. And it's your answer. Obviously you can answer. People have answered it in all sorts of different ways.
Yeah.
But it's up to you. However you want to answer.
The answer to the question is I suspect it's going to go up. And what have we got? 7 months. I suspect it'll be somewhere about halfway between where it was now and where it peaked. So whatever that is, 13, 14,000. I think so. A pretty fair benchmark. So don't take my advice. Don't go buy don't go buy Bitcoin.
No, not a financial advice. Grant, thanks so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
And really wish you guys all the best as well in building this industry and building the platform that you guys are doing and taking it out to the market. And wish you the best with Civic Ledger.
Thank you very much.
Thanks
all
very
the
much.
best to your show.
Thanks a lot. All right, guys, that was Civic Ledger with Grant. We're obviously coming at you guys live right now. Do subscribe, guys, right now, and share this channel with your friends. Share it right now. Pick that link up at the top and share it around because obviously we've come all this way. We've got the best projects coming at you. We're coming live as fast as we possibly can to give you guys the real-time view of the actual what's going on here at Consensus, guys. Subscribe, share the link around, put it in your WhatsApp channel, send it in your Telegram, send it to whoever you can because we'd really appreciate it. We're obviously trying to bring you guys the best content we possibly can right now. I was going to give everyone a bit of a market update as well. Forgive me, we're just coming up with the next interview. And just in terms of the market prices right now, we're obviously seeing a lot of movement. Bitcoin trading at $8,068, Ethereum at $207, Litecoin at $90.13, Ripple at 41 cents. Just a big move from Ripple recently, up 25%. Big move there. Bitcoin up 3.27%. EOS up now at $5.85, up 3.1%. Bitcoin Cash at $388. Kind of stable with Bitcoin Cash. Binance Coin trading around slightly down against Bitcoin. But I think the big movement right now is with Ripple up 25%. I'm not sure if anyone in the chat has the view as to what is driving that. Would love to hear your views. Now, if there's anything, guys, you do want to hear about, do send us on the chat. We're listening right now. We've got our crew here, and would appreciate all your advice. Again, share the link around, guys, with your groups, WhatsApp, Telegram, get it out there, and do subscribe and do follow us. We've got some input here from Mr. Untouchables. Big shout out to you, Mr. Untouchables 123. It's better than CoinDesk. That's a big call. I shouldn't say that. I'm not sure. And we've got our next guest coming up, which is Travis from Bad Crypto. Welcome.
Shabesta, what is up?
What is up?
Nice to see you all.
Tell us, Travis, how bad is consensus right now?
You know what? It's pretty amazing. There's a lot of energy here, a lot of great people. What I've heard from from the last year's event, seemed like there was more people with suits and Lambos last year, or T-shirts and Lambos last year. There's more sort of suits and businessy people here this year.
Yeah.
I never wear a suit, but I did throw on a jacket. Makes you look
sharp.
Dude, I mean, without the shirt, without the jacket, though, I'm just a schlub with a T-shirt. But we got the jacket on, you look all fancy.
Quick, like to give everyone background, you obviously been on the show, but tell us, Travis, about your show and what you guys are doing.
Yeah. So we are from the Bad Crypto podcast. We actually had you on, I think, a couple times, maybe, right? We were on your show, you were on our show, and chatted about the crypto. So we're one of the top English-speaking crypto podcasts out there. We have a lot of fun. And recently, we've launched Badcoin.
Badcoin.
Yes.
Tell us about Badcoin, because it's pretty, it's designed, I've heard about the worst computer to mine it. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so what we've done, whenever we set up Bad Crypto Podcast originally, what we thought was like, hey, we're going to set up this coin called Badcoin on the BitShares platform, right? And we gave it away to folks for free. Just say, hey, thanks for listening to our show. Give us a review, have some Badcoin. Completely worthless. But about 10 months ago, we had the idea to make a new blockchain because you have this centralization in crypto mining now. Like, you are not able to go mine Bitcoin. You could put the blockchain on your computer, but you're not mining any Bitcoin.
Yep.
You got to have a whole huge warehouse full of rigs, right?
Yep.
So it's not fair anymore. And I don't think that was Satoshi's vision, was to say, hey, I want 3 or 4 main people to be able to mine all the Bitcoin. That's my vision. I don't think that was his vision. Because I was able to mine Bitcoin on my laptop back in 2010. I mined a block of Bitcoin. I got 50 Bitcoin.
Yep.
I went to a Bitcoin pool, or a Bitcoin faucet. I got another 5 Bitcoin.
Yes.
I had 55 Bitcoin.
Yep.
My computer crashed. I got all my important files off, but I forgot to get the Bitcoin off, right?
Okay.
So I lost 55 Bitcoin. But I remember how cool it was to mine on my laptop. So I posed the question, how cool would it be if you could mine on bad computers?
Yes.
And that was the question. And I said, we need a blockchain that's sort of ASIC resistant, that allows anyone, grandma on her Pentium computer, to be able to mine, in an ideal world, mine on your phone, mine on this. So what we've done is we've created Badcoin, which is a legitimate blockchain. It's a multi-chain, actually, of 5 separate algorithms.
Wow.
So we have the SHA-256 algorithm from Bitcoin. We have Skyne, we have Gretzel, we have YesScript, and then we have Scripts. We have 5 different algorithms, and depending on your device, that depends on which algorithm you connect to.
Wow.
And each algorithm has a separate difficulty and a separate reward based on that. So,
hey, can you guys keep it down over here?
What are you doing?
We're trying to do an interview
What are
over
you doing?
there.
What are you doing
This
over
guy's
here? What is
so
this?
loud.
That's the problem.
This
What
is
this?
Joel,
Get
obviously
your-
joins Travis on the Bad Crypto
Trying to get his
podcast,
face
guys.
out of my time. What is he doing here?
Taking over.
Stay bad. And so that's what we did. So if you have a whole pool of ASIC computers, then the difficulty is going to be really high, and the reward over time gets lower. So your incentive to mine Badcoin with amazing computers is lower over time. And then what happens is YesScript, which everyone's connecting with their MacBook and their PC, those rewards over time get higher and the difficulty gets lower. And so the bigger the pools get, right, then the bigger the rewards over time get distributed. Right now, we launched it about 3 weeks ago. We have over 400 concurrent miners.
Wow.
Mining Badcoin right now already.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Close to 450 actually.
Wow. I should become a Badcoin miner. I got some old computers. Just spool them up and get them going.
Yeah, that's the whole thing is over time, in an ideal world, I mean, it's one of those things, I don't care about the price.
Yeah.
My goal on this whole thing has been, it's educational.
Yeah.
If you understand how to mine, you start to understand blockchain. You see how that incentive is there, we're verifying the transactions, and then you get a reward. The reward is the Badcoin, right? And in Bitcoin's case, the reward is Bitcoin. It helps you understand the economics and how blockchain works, the power of blockchain, through this decentralized web of computers that are all trying to snag themselves some bad.
How are people responding to this? Because obviously it's you guys made a podcast and you guys, like OGs really in covering this. How are they responding to this? Like, who's joining us? Who are these 400 people?
Well, for one, they're a lot of our fans. And they're people who maybe wanted to mine before, but are like, I don't want to go spend $1,000 on this S9 miner, this, Bitmain. They don't even understand it. And you're not going to go invest a whole bunch of money in something you don't understand, right? And so this right here is really the entree into mining for people. The main response, I tell you, the main adjective that we've seen on tweets and from people in our Telegram and Discord is fun. It's fun. They'll bookmark there. So we have our block explorer, which is called Blocking Bad, blockingbad.com, and then you can put your address in, and then you can see your Badcoin trickle in if you're mining it, right? So people are bookmarking it on their mobile and seeing, oh, how much Badcoin have I made on my computer back home?
Nice.
So there's this is so fun. I think 20, 30 tweets have been fun. This is fun. So
awesome.
I think that's probably the overwhelming thing so far is that it's fun and people are having a good time with it. And it's cool. It's not worth anything yet, but we're starting to see people developing things for it. Like there's a group of people in the community building a mobile app.
Really?
Somebody built a bad faucet. You can go to badfaucet.com and every 12 hours you can put in your address and they'll give you a random amount of bad. So people are building stuff for it already, and we've got a great community of people who are moderating the Discord.
Polls and all those kind of things, right? So it's a place.
Yeah.
Where do you think maybe Badcoin might go?
Yeah, I think Badcoin is sort of like Doge. I know Doge has 200 billion tokens or something. We have 21 billion, right? So we just said Bitcoin has 21 million, let's make 21 billion. That way, just if everybody in the world could have at least two and a half Badcoins, right? So it's a peer-to-peer network. It's a crypto asset where I can send you Badcoin and you'll get it in less than a minute. Our blocks are a minute long. So every minute there's 2,100, 2,200 Badcoin are created. Yeah. And so I think it's just the same thing as what was the use of Litecoin? It's a way to sort of transfer stuff. Yeah. So I think if the value of it increases over time, it's going to be a way of smoking fast transfer, payments.
Yeah.
People are starting to do different stuff with it. There's an auction going on for this little. I don't know. It's a weird thing. It's like this little cactus pickle thing, and it's already the bid on it now is 50,000 Badcoin for this. So and that just popped up on a website. I want Bad, so I'm gonna auction this thing off. So I mean that's the thing is that we're not actively sort of trying to grow the thing. We're trying to get the community out there to be the ones that help actively build it all up, and so but it's happening organically. They're doing this stuff on their own because it's exciting to them. If they're mining Bad right now, they want Bad to be worth something someday. Yeah. And so they're doing stuff that makes new applications and new things to make it better. My goal is I'd really like to have 100,000 people mining Badcoin all around the world. In some of these developing countries where it's impossible for them to mine, they don't have ASIC rigs, they're not able to mine Bitcoin, but they can mine Badcoin, and that will then teach them about how crypto works and sort of create this mass adoption. That's why we set up Bad Crypto originally, was to help with mass adoption. Yep. And Bad Coin was sort of a play on our website. Okay. Bad Crypto. Bad Coin is a way to teach people how to mine and understand crypto to help mass adoption, because we think the blockchain is some solutions that can help the world be a better place, a more transparent place, safe from tyranny, right? Because blockchain is just a really amazing solution if used the right way. And so there's a lot of censorship going on in the world right now. There's a lot of bad stuff that's going on. So We think blockchain can help solve a lot of those things, so we want to build awareness. And Badcoin, even though it has a bad name, it's badass.
Yeah, that's cool. Now, how can someone, I guess, guys, if you want to, start mining Badcoin right now, tell us. Can you tell everyone how do they go about doing that?
Go to badcoin.net.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have the mining instructions there, badco.in/mine. Well, we gave away a lot of Badcoin to the old folks. So you listen to Bad Crypto.
Yep.
So if you had listened to Bad Crypto before, and you might check your BitShares account, you might have some Badcoin in there because we gave it away to like 50,000 people or so. So you can actually swap your old Badcoin for the new Badcoin.
Okay, badass. Now,
and we're looking for badassadors and badvocates. We have a couple badvisors of the project already. And we're going to create a tipping bot called Bad Tipper. So we got all kinds of stuff in the works.
I would love some Badcoin just to be a bit more badass. I should come and join.
You should
spin it up on the laptop.
Do it. We'll hook you up, brother.
Now, has anyone got any questions? We've got a lot of. Someone's calling a BitConnect or something like that.
You know what? Here's the thing. We didn't raise any money for this. We did it all on our own.
Yep.
We did no ICO, no fundraise. This is basically just an educational tool.
Sounds like Ravencoin. Sounds like Bitcoin. It all started organically.
Yeah, sort of like Ravencoin, sort of like Dogecoin.
Yep.
We've raised no money. We've actually, put out 1,000 hours of man hours and actually building this thing up. So there's been no funds exchanged anywhere throughout the whole project, which has been great. It's been on all along.
Okay, we've got Travis. We've got to finish here. But lastly, price of Bitcoin right now going about $8,000. Where do you think the market's going right now?
Well, it's really weird. It's like, what's driving this right here? Is it because we have consensus? Is there some whales doing some stuff? It seems kind of interesting why we've had this big movement of $2+ grand in the last week. So I don't know if this is just a pump up, if this is whatnot, but I know some of the people are saying, this looks like it could be a pump. You may want to take some profits. There's people who are technical analysis guys. I'm not one. I just kind of hold it and go for the ride and let's see where it goes. But I mean, I don't know. I'd like to see by the end of the year around 15 grand. That would be nice. Okay. I don't know if we're going to get there or not. Maybe 12 to 15 grand. Maybe 6 grand. I mean, you don't know. There's no. If you people listening to people and saying, "Well, what is it going to be?" Nobody knows.
All right, Travis, thank you so much for joining us. And with the Bad Coin and Bad Crypto podcast, guys, check it out. Do subscribe, check it out. Travis is so badass.
Stay bad.
Stay bad. Yeah. Thanks so much,
Appreciate
Travis.
it, man.
Okay. All right, guys, we've got, do send your questions in, guys. Remember, share the link around and do share it with your friends and in your groups to join us. We've got our next interview coming up. Notice that on the chat, we had Lisk. Lisk has been on the show yesterday. Sorry, that was Loki, not Lisk. My apologies. So Lisk has not come up yet. So we will get that happening. Now we've got our next guest coming in as well, guys, and just giving you guys an update on the market. Right now, as Travis was saying, Bitcoin holding up around $8,032, Ethereum at $206, Litecoin at $89. Again, Ripple 41 cents, up 25%. It's holding that price up. It's one of those ones that's sort of been not having as much activity. We've got our next guest coming in, guys, to come and join us. Do send your questions in, guys, and do obviously go ahead and subscribe, and we'll and do send your questions in. We'll ask the questions.
So we have Kasala from My Ether Wallet.
Welcome,
Hey,
Kasala.
Fred. Nice to see you.
Come and join us.
Yes, thank you.
So we've got Kasala here. Is from My Ether Wallet, guys. I'm sure you guys have used it. It's one of the OG
Pretty
wallets,
much,
really.
yeah.
Do you want to tell us about My Ether Wallet?
Yeah, so, I get asked this question a lot, but like every time I don't feel like I'm doing a proper description of it. But, so My Ether Wallet, we started as like an interface for Ethereum. Initially as Ethereum came out, we were there as like the original wallet. And as we grew, now it became not just one product, now it's like multiple products out there, including like the Blockchain Explorer and like mobile apps and all those different ones. But like overall, we want to build the Ethereum ecosystem together and like increase the usability, accessibility, and like user experience.
Brilliant. Okay. And now you guys have had some recent developments. I think we spoke with one of your crew earlier last year.
Yes.
Tell us about some of the latest updates and what's happening with My Wallet.
So yeah, I think the last interview was about like New Connect, which was our hardware wallet without all the hardware.
On the phone?
Yeah. So it was on the phone.
Tell everyone about that.
So it's pretty much think of it as like everyone's familiar with hardware wallets, but not everyone's capable of or like have the financial means to buy a hardware wallet. So that's when we were like, okay, there's an issue that needs solving, and then we were like, hey, let's create a phone, because most of the mobile phones today are like very secure, and they have like secure enclaves and key stores, which are extremely or almost identical to hardware wallets. So that's when we were like, okay, it's time to build an app that's pretty much a hardware wallet, but on your phone, which also increased the accessibility because you're already familiar with how to use your phone and all that.
Now, I guess that's obviously a great piece of software and technology. Now, My Wallet had obviously it had a lot of I'd say people putting pressure security-wise on the site. Tell us like how do you deal with these kind of like I guess cyber attacks? Yeah,
very stressful, but it's not something we can like disregard or anything. So we are constantly like always involved with the top experts in cybersecurity. We like recently partnered with Cloudflare, which is like one of the topmost DNS service providers out there, which can provide us, and they're constantly monitoring all of our DNS servers, and like they also use us as like a case study to improve their overall system security. So it's an ongoing process, and it's not like something that we can do today and then forget about it. So every day, every like second, we're constantly monitoring, constantly doing everything to make sure our users are secure and ready to move to the future. What's sort of some of the new fancy things people are trying? Like what sort of some of the most creative thing you've seen that people try to do? Yeah. Oh, like hacking wise? Yeah. So I think one of the most or the craziest thing I've seen so far was the last year's the DNS attack. That pretty much they were able to attack not My Wallet, but like the core structure of internet itself. Yes. So it can happen to anyone, but like now, including Cloudflare and like a lot of other partners that we're working with are familiar with this sort of attacks, and they know how to detect it on an early stage and then prevent it from happening. Okay, right. So yeah, so it's like I think that was the craziest one I've seen so far. That was huge. It was because everyone saw it. It went around, and you guys responded really fast to that, right? Yeah. So we responded really fast to it, but you also have to understand ultimately decentralization brings the security and power to the people, and then so you have to understand it's like you are the one who's in control. Yes. So if you see something abnormal, like for example, like everyone who went to My Wallet during that 10-minute period got a security error saying, hey, like it's not the same, like it's not a secure, or the security certificate is not valid. Yes. Do you still want to continue? So that's like big no to everyone. Don't do that. Okay. So the people watch just out for the do not continue sign. Yes. No. That's like a big no. Okay. So make sure you always like you are the one who's in power, so you have to take control. Like that's what we are trying to teach all the users, all of our consumers, and like everyone, all the newcomers, that you're the one who's in control. So make sure you look after these like little tiny details. We've got a question here from Mr. Untouchables 123. Yes. Will you provide your own hardware wallet? That's a great question that we are already in research. And maybe in the future, like I mentioned, it's not one product anymore. We are building a lot of other products, and then as we move forward, that's also something I'm not going to say that's not something that we never thought about. That's something that we thought about, and as we move forward, that potentially could be a solution that we offer. Okay. Yes. Really interesting. Now, I guess in terms of activity, there are a lot of new wallets that came out. A lot of new wallets that came on the market. How are you sort of seeing users sign up? How are you sort of seeing the activity on My Wallet? Still,
getting wallets and still joining? Like, what's the activity?
So that's like that's the very interesting part of this whole ecosystem, because like I like to consider itself as like a exponentially growing space. So it's not just it's too big for one wallet provider. So I'm really happy that all these other wallet providers or wallet services are coming on board, because it's not, so we provide, or like we as the leading wallet service, we have like set of goals in our mind, but like it's not necessarily that what everyone wants. So it's okay for like other wallet services to come on board and like provide their services, and that's also part of decentralization. I don't like to consider them as competitors at all. And over the past like year or so, we never saw a decline. I mean, the market crash or anything. So we are like constantly growing. That's also another sign that this space is growing, and the new people are coming in. So like I think the last month I checked, it's 1.2 million unique visits a month.
Wow.
So that's how big the market is right now, and then it's a continuously growing. It's not just like gonna stop at some point and be like, oh, this is it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So a lot of people talk about usability with wallets and payments and things like that. Like, what's your view on how usable, I guess, a lot of the cryptocurrencies are?
It's I think we're at a very, very, very early stage. Step number one. So we have a lot more to go.
Yeah.
And but it's not like a one step, or like it's not gonna happen overnight. It's not like 1 week from today or like 1 year from today. Think of it as early internet, right? It's like it was hard for people to get in initially, and like eventually, like 5 years from now or something, like people now, and then 5 years from the like inception or 10 years from the inception, people like started getting into it and like started learning more and more about it, and eventually like now it's a day-to-day thing.
Sure.
So that's exactly how it's gonna go. As just like any other new technology out there, that's exactly how it's gonna go. And like my goal is like having better, like a mainstream app in 5 years from now, not today, not tomorrow, not a year from now.
Now, I guess in terms of My Wallet, what's new? What's coming up? What should people look out for?
So My Wallet version 5, we just released it on February, and then so it's constantly getting updated. So like we are adding new features as we go, and it's not just like a platform. So we are also adding other dApps. So it's like look after all the announcements, because now My Wallet is an interface to interact with other dApps as well. So it's not just like to send transactions and receive transactions, not just that. So it's constantly growing. On top of that, we have ETHVM, which is our Ethereum blockchain explorer, open source and completely free for the community to use. And it's on alpha now, and then beta is coming out next month. And then Mu Connect it's already out. We're getting, I think last time I checked, almost 100,000 downloads within the last 2.5 months. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So it's like it's a big market, and it's like I'm really happy, because I feel like Mu as a team, we are helping to increase the accessibility, like to get onboard people onto Ethereum ecosystem.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Really cool. Now, in terms of other blockchains, are there other ones you guys are looking at to build, bring wallets to, or things like that, or are you just focusing on?
So when I say Ethereum, it's like all Ethereum-based blockchains. We support, like My Wallet has not just Ethereum network. We have like UBIC, all the other like POA network, all the other Ethereum-based networks. We support them. So as of now, that's our only goal. Like we have Ethereum in focus, and we are doing to increase the usability, or like bring more people into the system.
Now,
ecosystem.
of recent, we've seen a big increase in prices again. We've seen obviously a lot more market activity because of that.
Yeah.
Has that driven a lot more interest again to Mu or My Wallet? Have you seen a big increase, a big uptake, or a lot of movement? Does it correlate with price?
As the market price increase, yes, it always does. So if you look at our like very early numbers, when the price was like peaking, like when it was like 1,000, like we had so many visitors coming in, but like it always correlates with the price, and then as the price went down, like the number of visits went down, and then now you can see like the uptick again. Okay. So it's definitely correlated.
Now there are a lot of coins that are built on My Wallet, on Ethereum, sorry.
Yeah, C20.
It's a lot of other tokens. What's your view on the future of a lot of these tokens? What are you guys seeing there?
Like currently, I'm seeing a lot of tokens like creating their own like mainnet, and then moving and be like, oh, this is our own mainnet, and like move everyone. So what I have to tell to them is like, yes, it's okay, that's not a problem, but like make sure you tell your users how to properly migrate from one chain to another, because like as like the leading wallet provider in the space, we get at least 100 tickets a day on how to ask people asking how to migrate properly. Like, oh, what happened to my like this token, XXX token, and then it's how do I get it to the other chain? Right. So it's like, it should be, you have like, it's not just, yes, technology-wise, people are very proficient, right? Like the people who come up with tokens and like creating their own tech blockchain and all this. But like at the end of the day, you have to think about the users who invested money in the chain or in the token. So make sure you do that. Make sure you like tell your users how to properly migrate from one to another.
Okay.
And
well, we saw that last year, with the EOS launch, particularly.
Yeah.
How did you find that? That was a big migration, right? Because
Yes.
that was an Ethereum token.
Yes.
Then they launched their own chain.
Yes.
And a lot of people had to, I guess, stake their coins in Ethereum, or they had to commit it with a smart contract.
Yeah.
How did you find that? Like that was quite a process, right?
That was a huge process, and people are still asking about how to get their EOS. It's still how to get the EOS tokens migrated, and unfortunately, I think it's no longer possible.
Right.
So, and then because of those reasons, now there's a EOS Classic, I think, on Ethereum. I'm not familiar with the whole like Classic and then the mainnet, what the solution they came up with. But yes, there's an EOS Classic token in Ethereum network for the people who couldn't migrate.
Oh, wow.
So it's like these it's not easy. I'm not gonna say it's not easy. Like it's not easy to tell everyone how to do that, but it's something that everyone should be thinking about before they do a major migration like that.
So we've seen as well, some major phone providers, manufacturers,
Yes.
come out with new wallets built into phones.
Yes.
Do you guys sort of have plans to make go and work with some sort of mobile phone provider or?
Yeah, we actually do. We already have a partner.
Okay.
And so they what's the name? I forgot the name. But so they integrated our Mu Connect process, the protocol, and so you can use the built-in phone hardware wallet with MyEther wallet, and you can interact with MyEther wallet that way. So. Which is amazing.
Okay. Do you guys?
I found the name. Sorry, it's the Finny.
The Finny.
Finny phone. Yes.
Okay, Finny phone. Cool.
Yes.
Now, you guys obviously see, I could imagine, a lot of activity on your site. Do you guys do analysis in terms of where coins are moving from and to, in terms of what you're seeing in the market?
Actually, that's like one of our core principles, not to track users. So we don't have any analytics. So only analytics that we collect for ourselves are from websites like Alexa Rank and then SimilarWeb, and then the Cloudflare, like overall, like how much bandwidth we are using, and then how many unique visitors we are getting. Like we have no individual statistics on any of the tokens that are moving or any of the coins that are moving, or like what people are doing on our website, or how many wallets are getting created, where people are clicking on the website, nothing like that. So that's one of our core principles. We like really value privacy of users, and we never had any sort of analytics on MyEther wallet or any of the MyEther wallet related websites.
So earlier this year, we covered EdCon,
yes.
And it was in Sydney, Australia, actually, this time. And they talked a lot about their proof of stake model they're trying to work on. It's quite a long roadmap, I would
Yes.
say, right, in terms of what they're kind of trying to do. How does sort of some of Ethereum's plans change what you guys are looking at, and how what you're sort of trying to solve for? Like what parts of that are you interested in? What?
So Ethereum, I think the main goal for Ethereum should be, in my opinion, as like increasing the number of transactions. It doesn't necessarily mean they'll have like increase in number of overall daily transaction volume, but like having the capability to handle a lot of transactions will definitely help. And I think it's already in right track in order to achieve that. Like Ethereum 1.0, 2.0, they just released the testnet on Gully, for sharding, and it's amazing so far, and I'm really happy of like how the path is going forward for Ethereum.
Okay.
Yes.
A lot of people obviously saw, I guess they're hoping for more change and more movement.
Yes.
We saw last year as well. Ethereum Classic had a few challenges in terms of some double spending and
Yes,
things like that.
the 51% tax. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
In terms of these Ethereum Classic and Ethereum and I guess where those chains are going,
Yes.
do you track and have a look at where Ethereum Classic's going in terms of where maybe Ethereum might go or might not go? Is that something of interest to you?
Honestly, no, that's not something that we are constantly looking into or monitoring. We do not maintain an Ethereum Classic node, but we do have Ethereum Classic node on my wallet that people can use, and then we get a lot of Ethereum Classic visitors. But like I mentioned before, the main focus is on Ethereum.
Yep.
And then, but like since all the other networks or Ethereum-based networks also support the same API, we also integrate them. So our goal is to, obviously the 51% attack happened because like not enough mining power, or like mining power was concentrated in like one specific person.
Okay.
That's why like if you get into technical details, like yes, you cannot have concentrated mining power in any one place. That's a big issue like Bitcoin's facing too.
Okay.
Yep.
Cassel, we've got our next guest coming on,
Yes.
but last question,
Yes.
We ask everyone, what do you think the price of Bitcoin will be at the end of the year, New Year's Eve? This is not financial advice, but obviously the market right now has come up, we're at $8,036 right now, which is really interesting, a lot of movement there. Do you have sort of ideas of where you think the market's going?
Yeah, you're asking me this question today, like after within the 5 days it went up by $2,000, right? Right? So I think market is heading, like Bitcoin just got integrated with, I think I read the article like Whole Foods and all those Starbucks, and so it's like I think like Bitcoin is the father of everything. So obviously like it can be considered as a trendsetter. So it'll start there and then move forward. So in my opinion, no trading advice. I think Bitcoin will maintain a stable price going forward. Maybe it might go up a little bit more, but I consider Bitcoin as like a trendsetter or like the store of value, and then and Ethereum is more like, yes, there's the value aspect, but you can do a lot more with Ethereum. It's like you can create dApps, platforms, and other things. So they can coexist and they can move forward together. That's my expectation.
Awesome. Cassel, thank you much for joining us on the Daily Exchange.
Yes, thank you so much. Have a nice one.
All right, guys, that is Cassel there from My Ether Wallet. Interesting views there on the activity with the wallet and where that's sort of going. Giving you guys a bit of a price update while we get our next guest on. Again, guys, please do subscribe. Do follow us on the YouTube channel. You obviously can follow us on Twitter as well at CryptoFinderTV. That's where we're at. And we've obviously been we're getting a lot of people coming through. Actually, prices seem to have pulled back a bit right now. $7,802. And we're actually going to take a break, guys. So we'll see you guys in a bit. We have got some more interviews coming up, but we'll talk to you guys soon. Yeah.